Walk to Site 6, 257 Dean Street. 257 Dean Street is a fine example of two trends in 19th century brownstone Brooklyn. This block was originally developed on speculation by two local home builders named John Doherty and Michael Murray in 1852 through 1853. They hoped to capitalize on the uptick in the national and area economy caused by the California gold rush of 1849 by constructing all 30 of the brick houses on this side of the block in the then popular modified Italianate style. Many successful Manhattan businessmen with families were looking for townhouses in quieter Brooklyn after the establishment of regular steam-powered ferry boats across the East River and a network of horse-drawn trolley cars. This block of Dean Street was built as fashionable single-family homes and promoted as a pleasant, modern upper-middle-class neighborhood. It was successful and flourished as such through the Civil War. In the postbellum years, the economic disruption and large number of war casualties left much of South Brooklyn in a state of flux. In proper Victorian circles, upper-middle-class society did not take in boarders. But the stress of the war on many households forced them to rent some rooms to help make ends meet. The Whitlock family owned the house through the 1870s and 1880s. They rented the back of the parlor floor as a doctor's office in the late 1870s before electing to rent the full parlor and upper floors after the completion of Brooklyn Bridge in 1883. They noted in their newspaper ads that rental costs were moderate, available with or without meals, and the house was 10 minutes to South Ferry and 1 minute to cars for all ferries and the bridge. The family lived on the ground floor and also offered piano lessons to local pupils for 40 cents a lesson until about 1890. Today, many of these houses are returning back to single-family occupancy as they were when originally constructed. Still others offer renovated apartments to modern-day boarders who often commute to Manhattan on the nearby subway. Walk to house number 7, 433 Pacific Street. 433 Pacific was once part of an area called Washington Place. This area was along Pacific Street, generally from White Street to 4th Avenue, but more specifically from Bond to Nevins. It was associated with General George Washington's ill-fated attempt early in the Revolutionary War to defend Brooklyn and later Manhattan from the British in the summer of 1776. Pacific Street itself ran only as far east as Court Street until 1845, when it was cut further to facilitate the coming development. Small gardens were placed in front of each new brownstone from Bond to Nevins in memory of the area's history. The three houses of 433 to 437 Pacific were completed together in 1853 in a modified Italianate style. Notice the striking entrance, flanked by Doric pilasters, topped by curved brackets which support a cornice slab with a curvilinear form, suggesting a pediment. Also note the roof cornice, with the outer single brackets and the paired central brackets with dentils in between all. This 1854 brick and brownstone illustrates the creative reuses of Brooklyn housing. The 16 by 31-foot living room is why I bought the house, says this architect. Walk to site number 8, Cafe Building on Bond. 108 Bond Street is in the process of being transformed into a ground-floor restaurant. The original building was constructed about 1908 on the site of several old stables. The Brooklyn Bridge brought direct land access to Manhattan in 1883, while the growth of the regular electric trolley routes opened up much of Brooklyn to motorized rapid transit after 1892. The year 1908 next became a milestone when the underground subway reached beneath the East River via the IRT's Joralemon Street Tunnel to the new Borough Hall Station, connecting Brooklyn with Manhattan's East Side. This year will likely be 108 Bond Street's centennial. Today, Boerum Hill is accessible via 14 different subway lines and countless buses running all over New York City. Talk about location, location, location. For this American bistro, the owners removed the 4 storefronts there last year and unified the original 3 different shops according to the building's 1909 plans. The storefront windows are restored to the original, but without double panes. The lighting is custom designed in the city rustic style of the early 1900s. Walk to 423 Atlantic Avenue. The Ex-Lax building co-ops are an icon of Atlantic Avenue and Boerum Hill. The original building at 435 to 443 Atlantic Avenue was constructed in 1891 as a bottling establishment for Anheuser-Busch Brewing, under the guidance of local beer bottler named Herman Thimmig. Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis succeeded in 1881 at figuring out the basics of artificial refrigeration, making the possibility of brewing pasteurized beer in one location, bottling it at another, and then shipping it considerable distances a possibility. The brewers were soon scrambling to build new bottling facilities that had nearby access to railroads. With the Long Island Railroad facility nearby at Flatbush Avenue and the Long Island Beer Market beyond to the east, refrigerated rail cars were soon bringing barrels of Anheuser-Busch export beer to 435-43 Atlantic for bottling, with help from horse stables and wagons next door at 431-433. There was also the St. Louis Café, complete with a well-stocked saloon at 443, where locals could have dinners and popular entertainment. The facility thrived up until the approach of World War I, an anti-German sentiment finally succumbing to the start of Prohibition in 1919. The building complex was eventually sold to the Ex-Lax Manufacturing Company around 1925, resulting in 431-433 Atlantic being rebuilt for manufacturing in 1926. An additional manufacturing area being built in 1928 behind the main building, and the purchase and demolition of several old houses next door for a new 1932 headquarters building at 423-429. By the 1940s, a long sign the height of where today the Ex-Lax Incorporated lettering in the arch at 423 is, ran the length of the facility to the right, stating the home of Ex-Lax, the chocolate laxative. Rumors abound that monkeys were kept in cages atop the facility for testing the effectiveness of Ex-Lax. The company also thrived in the facility until moving manufacturing operations to Puerto Rico in 1975. The building complex was recycled in 1979 into 57 co-op apartments in a novel and ultimately successful attempt to revitalize Atlantic Avenue.